All right, everybody, it's time for Space Station versus Furia, one of our rematches that we're going to see today. We've already seen a couple of them, and there's some more to come before we finish off the rest of the day. My name is Intero. I'm joined by Pengu, and yeah, Space Station and Furia are both competing to see who can break out of this group at the top. These teams have a storied history together. They played each other in Mexico. Now they're playing each other yet again. And while things didn't really go the way of Space Station the first time they met.
To be fair, it was as close as it gets, 8-7. Yes,
true.
Furia got the win, sure, SSG lost, whatever, but to be honest, Parker, there is no better game than a max overtime game full of clutch scenarios, and that game was full of all of those things.
Absolutely. And if you pull up the stats for what we're looking at with these teams here and where they currently sit, well, Space Station comes in first in North America. They have been absolutely indomitable, but in Group D, they actually trail, and I don't think I've ever said this before, the APAC team of Damwon Kia. And Damwon Kia has 2 wins and 1 overtime win. Space Station are currently second. This is widely considered to be one of the groups of death. This would be my group of death if it were up to me and only me. Because you've got DWG, you've got Space Station, you've got Empire, and you've got Furia. All of these teams are not just capable of advancing to the groups, they're all capable of winning the group.
Yes, they are. So I'm very excited to see not just the result of this match, but this group in general, because when this event first started, I thought, obvious answer is going to be Empire and SSG. They're going to advance to playoffs. Now, I'm not so sure. I mean, Damwon Kia is my personal favorite, and it's like tied between Furia and SSG. So this match in particular is going to define the final time between these two teams in particular, which one does indeed come out on top. So if Furia takes it, it's a 2-0, and if SSG brings it back convincingly, I'll hand it to them.
Furia, what is there to say about Furia here? Space Station, very much a known quantity to the English-speaking fans. Furia, maybe less so. Latin America can seem isolated because they do communicate in Portuguese, and it can be hard to keep track of them, but every single LATAM team that is at this event is formidable. Furia might only be third in their region. They might actually enter in last in the group, but a victory here could actually vault them into first place or second place overall over Space Station Gaming. DWG still has another match to play today, so they are going to potentially stretch their lead as they are the only undefeated team in this group, but Furia come in with some pretty compelling stats. In terms of the actual group, though, they have been the weakest team, and I think we do need to speak to that.
Yeah.
But LATAM hasn't had a very good day today, but the tides have seemingly turned over the last couple hours. Will Furia be the beneficiary of that?
I was gonna say, Team 1 kind of showed that LATAM can make things happen on day 2, and honestly, Parker, I wouldn't count Furia out just yet. I think they're great at taking advantage of the space if they're given that space, but at the same time, I think SSG's biggest power potential is the clutch. The entire team, every single player, we see it time and time again. Bosco on the smoke, Bosco using the shotgun, Foltz had a phenomenal day yesterday as well, Rampy too, and would you look at that, Parker? We have a thing where our teams go back to the place of defeat. We're going back to Kafe, which I will remind you, last time with 8-7, where Furia got the win.
An absolutely outstanding matchup, and like I said, and I've said many times, I would argue the standout match of this entire event so far has been Space Station versus Furia. So are they going to repeat that same thing? Furia started off the day with a bit of a downfall to Team Empire. That was a hell of a match. You and I actually casted that. Furia took the first 4 rounds. They were excellent on First Bloods, and the first 2 rounds in particular were flawless. But then after that 4th round, they did not win another. Empire came back real hard. And I mean, you don't even know who's going to win. We don't know who's going to win. You certainly don't know who's going to win. 53% of you say Space Station. 47% of you say Furia. Which one will come out ahead? We're going to go back to the scene of the crime, back to Kafe, with Space Station starting on defense.
I like those numbers, Parker, because just like us, no one truly has a favor here. It's very much 50-50 down the middle. A Finkaban comes out from SSG, which of course speaks into the nature of Furia and LATAM. And like most aggressive teams, they love that adrenaline surge. Furia answers back in the most boring way possible with the basic Thatcher ban, but someone has to do it. The downside of the Thatcher being left open is that you guys gotta ban it out. Will we see the Valkyrie is the question for me. No, we will not. Fun fact, Furia actually plays IQ, so Furia chooses they don't want to do that, they want to take it out of the map, and SSG can answer back with the last ban of this match. It'll be the Mirror, so pretty standard game besides that Finka ban.
So you get Mira and Valk and Thatcher banned. Yeah, Finka's the only thing that's really that interesting, and I mean, when you look at Finka,
yep,
she has seen quite a lot of play by a number of teams. It doesn't matter what region it is. APAC has been playing her, NA plays her, EU plays her, LATAM plays her. But her origination was in APAC.
Yes.
But I feel like we say this, but we forget. We forget that the old FaZe roster with Yuna
yeah,
used to play Finka before almost any other region. So you can go back and trace Finka's first amount of play and her lineage to Latin America. Now, nobody on that team has any connection to one another except for the coach Twister, who was, for a brief period of time, affiliated with FaZe Clan. So it's not like it's anything really interesting outside of a talking point. But Latium knows how to use her. They use her quite well, and she's not going to be available. Womp womp. Space Station, expect that. And with Furia going on to attack first, will that hinder them? Well, they'll have 6 rounds to answer that question. First defense for Space Station is going to be on the middle floor of reading.
Very, very nice memory Parker, something that I could not remember for the life of me, but since you took something away from APAC on the origination, I'll give the one back. The Ying shotgun meta that was short-lived but did exist at one time, I am 99.9% sure that did indeed originate in the APAC region because we made a lot of fun of them until we started doing it ourselves, and those things happen, of course. Speaking of the current game at hand though, as you said, reading bomb site start for SSG, they're gonna go up above and they're going for a more passive approach. Why? Well, look at the walls that are reinforced inside of Freezer towards Piano. Double reinforced both to Bathroom and to Piano. Jammer stops those walls from being opened. They got the Jaeger and they got the Wamai, and with that they're gonna protect 3 shields, 2 on the side of Goyo and 1 on the side of Smoke. So they're gonna be happy in these corners, happy sitting down, and this is also where that Finka ban kind of plays in because Ayana, she has the explosives, but outside of that you don't have any more grenades, you just have the Ash charges, so much less lethal explosions coming out from Furia because of that ban.
Curious how those explosives or lack thereof are going to impact any of the players that are playing over by Cocktail, but we'll keep our eyes on that. A flash goes in, and I don't know if Highs was actually blinded by that or not, but he drops, and that is not ideal. He doesn't want to be in that particular spot. They'll go on to drone work, and they'll head towards the main bar. SSG are isolated upstairs. 3 of their players are at least over by Freezer and as well Cocktail. And the assault from Furia will come quite quickly, but those Kairos, not a match whatsoever for the impacts thrown out by the Wamai. There's one that's jammed up, though. I don't really know how that happens.
Basically, the lower pallet gets jammed because of the jam on the opposite side. The upper one was above the range, of course.
That is so odd. I would have thought that they both would have been within range of the jammer, but
the jammer range got changed very recently. It doesn't reach up as far, but it goes more wide, which means both of these walls are covered, but it's not as far up in here.
It's a sphere now, right? And it's got its height limit. I just suspected that they both would have been in there. Anyway, speaking of recent changes, the smoke propagation has also changed, yet Fantasy doesn't take any damage from the smoke that goes off in front of him. The gas being breathed in, nothing. Rare's first casualty. Furia loses a man early. They had a strong start in their match earlier today against Empire. That will not be repeated. It's a weak start.
This is looking quite dire apart because there's no flashbangs left on this side of Furia, but they still have ADSs and the discs are still coming out. This shield will not be taken down, but Miracle will. Problem solving is what Furia needs to do, and with that swing right there, a problem will be solved for them, but it was actually Fold solving it as he was the one to swing. Now SSG can fall back onto site. They will take this with 35 seconds left, and Furia can't do much here besides walking down this staircase.
And that's a 2v4 for Furia, as you talked about. A hopeless round. Bosco, though, he's playing on white stairs, and they didn't drone him out. They had no time to. Highs is going to drop inside a laundry, and well, he gets cleaned up by Rampy. Fultz, a huge round in particular, and there was a Nitro Cell kill as well, I believe, from Skies. So almost every single person, except for Hot and Cold, involved in the fun. Hot and Cold has actually had a bit of a sluggish performance here so far at Sweden in comparison to what we expect from North America, but those are high expectations that we hold for him, and here in particular was what Fultz was capable of doing. He ended up dying to that opening that was created by Fantasy, but still took about 60% of his HP away in the process.
Yeah, and to be fair, he wasted out all the flashbangs, they found the kill off it, Fultz found his own, the shield was still alive. I would argue he could have sat there for forever if that's what he wanted, but at the same time, there really was no big loss in him swinging. They had a big advantage, they had so little time left on the side of Furia, so SSG could just run away to side, and Furia doesn't have the resources, nor the time, or the amount of guns to actually do anything about that. From one first floor defense to another, we see mining. I believe this is like a North American special because it's not seen that commonly in Europe as far as I'm aware of this, Parker.
No, I mean, North America, we do see these two teams cycled between. It'll either be a reading defense or it'll be that mining defense because they tend to stay the same with the dining hall. In a lot of ways, the sites do perform somewhat similarly, except the difference is that teams will want to aggressively take train/engine, but won't usually be able to do that right away. Whereas if you're taking reading, well, you don't want to walk in through that reading doorway, whereas if you're taking mining, you're not necessarily going to walk in through that window. But anyway.
Well, that's a good point, and I mean, the one thing about the reading bomb set is that everybody has this standard way of planting in that default corner near the closet, so it's a bit more intricate when it comes to mining because you don't have a lot of safety. There's a bunch of angles, both from below and from above and from within. So, Furia has a couple of ways to walk about this. They can either go from below, make their way up, they can go from above, make their way below, and the ultimate question comes, since they've chosen to go above, do they take full top floor control? We're talking piano, we're talking cocktail, we're talking skylight, or will they just take the red stairs, cigar, and then do a limited take and work their way into train? The only thing that they truly need is protection over this piano hatch so that no flank can come out from SSG for the retake.
Castle being used to good extent. Our analyst, who will be joining us in just a couple days, Bikini Body, actually talked about how ecstatic he was to see so much Castle play showing up. And I mean, there was a period of time where that Castle was a crucial part of the utility dump meta, or the 20-second meta, as we wanted to call it, because it took 20 seconds to get in anywhere. But while I'm saying this, the Nitro Cell goes out, but it's pulled a little bit too late. Lenda on this engagement. He could have taken the Goyo of Hot and Cold, but Matthew Stevens himself misses out on that opportunity, and back up top, he's going to go.
And if you see this, Parker, Fury actually opted to change the Bach into a sledge. They wanted more grenades, more explosive destruction, and that's again the utility from SSG. The castle barricades, the shields, on top of using Mamai and Egger. So hard to deal with. Fantasy slipped on the floor, got injured, it happens. He'll have to get picked back up, get back on 20 health, but it's gonna slow down the time for Furia, and they're gonna find themselves under pressure once again.
They'll be able to get Fantasy back up 20 HP, Nick, for him. Not a ton. A single bullet from most of the guns on defense are going to be enough. And there you go! It just takes the Vector, and in fact it takes a village. SSG, multiple players involved in this one. There's more lined up too, but crossbody karate for Hot and Cold, not doable. Lenda and Highs taking some damage. They'll join Miracle as well with a bit of HP done away with. Rare, the only player on Furia at full HP. Space Station, all four of them are rocking 100% of their health. There's 40 seconds remaining, so this is that dire position you talked about that Furia had back in the first round. Not a ton of utility for them to spare. They have one single smoke. That's it. All of their X-Kairos available as well. Jackal still has his primary gadget, so the throwable utility might be quite weak. But in terms of gadgetry, it's all still there. How are they going to use it? Where is the application? Fultz, he gets pushed on from two separate angles, and Rare's not able to reload. So out goes the sidearm. Rampy trades right back. They weren't expecting the push on the white stairs, but there's two players from Furia in that same spot. Rampy is there, creeping up the stairs. He doesn't know target prioritization. Down goes Bosco, 2 seconds left. Rare attempting the plant. Sky's a nice shotgun blast. He's got some marks. Light him up. 3 big kills for Skies. And SSG takes the round off of his play.
There is this saying, Parker, if you believe in the shotgun believes in you. I have no idea how Skies managed to get the first kill. That looked absolutely absurd. but he did, and he found all three on the back end of that. Hot and Cold, we mentioned his name, he got the opening kill for his team, sure, died shortly after, but he got one of his own. Furia looked like they were so low on time, it almost looked like they thought it was a reading bomb site, but it doesn't matter. Skies will go pump 1, pump 2, pump the 3rd, and pumping his way in through the 2nd round. It is 2-0 in favor of SSG.
How much pumping was he doing, Nick?
He was doing too much pumping for Furia to handle. That's how much pumping he did, Parker.
That's a lot of pumping, Nick.
That is a lot of pumping.
All right, round number 3 now, and upstairs to Cocktail they will go. Interesting that we don't see a kitchen defense out of SSG. This was one of their more favored bomb sites for a long period of time, especially when Canadian was on that roster. Now, obviously, his absence, worth noting, has been for quite a while, almost a year that he's been off of that team.
Yeah.
So things change.
Time goes by really fast when you think about it, to be honest, and I think the reason for why SSG is choosing not to go down to the basement is because they like to work with this setup. They can utilize the walls, the shields, the Wamai, the Aruni, and the Jaeger. They want this pixel spot to be defended out of the Wasu. If this falls, that is the first line of defense, but they will have more. But they keep giving Furia all of these problems that they have to solve. And the thing is, Parker, I have given every single map in the current map pool a single word, or sometimes 2 words, to the name. And I've given Kafe the problem solving. That is the name of the game, that's what attackers have to take care of, and if you are a good defensive-sided team, it's all about making it very difficult to figure out how to solve the puzzle, and that is what SSG has been doing so far to great effect, and Furia going from Bach to Sledge, back to the Bach. They want flashbangs, they want grenades, but all of a sudden, they got themselves a gridlock.
I mean, if you're going to have an anti-flank operator, a Nomad is a good option. A Zero is a good option. Gridlock is an interesting one to watch. Super Shorty is your secondary, allows you to do some soft destruction work. You've also got access to those smokes, Nick. So there's quite a lot that they can potentially do with this.
I definitely think the smokes might be a big factor while still having projectiles to burn the ADSs and the discs if that's what they want. Of course, Nomad could do the same, the flashbangs, the traps, but you would not have the option of a smoke grenade if you so needed.
Furia's already in quite quickly on that 2nd floor. Do they have they have top control? No, they don't, obviously.
They've died to white stairs twice. Now they have 2 guys from both ends making sure that it is clear this time around. I like that.
We seem to have a blind spot.
Yeah, the white stairs are a dire position for them, but look at the blind spot here. We got Hot and Cold, I believe, hiding down and reading. I don't think he's been droned out just yet. His position could be a crucial factor to this round, but speaking of positions, look at Rambi all alone down the basement.
Oh, and he misses an opportunity onto that kill. He's got another lined up. Nice shot on the Fantasy. They'll follow up after that. There'll be multiple to come. He's still getting droned out. Cannot outduel Highs, the Ash main, former Ash main versus the Ash main. And Highs walks away with that one. Worse for wear, but wearing it well. Two players involved in that altercation, almost half of High's HP.
Now it's Hot and Cold's turn, Parker. They're sneaking in, but I don't think they know his whereabouts, and he might just get one for his troubles. Can he find a second, though, is the question, because he is yet to be dealt with.
You don't know that he's necessarily dove behind that bookcase either. We'll wait very patiently. Down goes Fultz to Rare, and oh, Hot and Cold smokes Highs, absolutely pulverizing him. Still on repel for one player of Furia, as now you can hear those stingers go out. Another for Hot and Cold, this time onto Rare, and Skies shuts him down. SSG complete the perfect rotation here on defense. Reading, Mining, and Cocktail, excellently done on their end. Off of the back of, yet again, excellent roam play. Furia has a lot of blind spots in these rounds, and they are being exploited by SSG.
They do, Parker, and the thing is, we spoke about the SSG players being so clutch, and already now we've seen a beautiful play from Skies. We've seen the lone roam of Hot and Cold and Rampy both working out, trading 1 for 1 and 2 for nothing. So I would definitely follow that trend. SSG is clutch, and it goes across the entire board of their players, and yeah, sure, maybe Hot and Cold hasn't turned up just yet, but he could just be saving that power for playoffs, because SSG, they're confident, they will go there, and I think this tactical pulse from Furia speaks to that element. Well, they gotta talk about some stuff.
I was gonna say, something's gotta happen at this point. We build this as a huge rematch, and so far it has been boring by Furia standards. This is not the exciting teams. SSG have been excited.
Yeah.
Furia have been boring. Furia, if you're listening to me right now, hello, Mr. or Mrs. Furia, you've been boring. Please fix it. And I think that's what the ultimate goal is here. This is the same thing that was happening to Furia against Empire earlier on. Empire were exceptionally good at finding ways into Furia's defenses and beating them. Now, the one thing about Furia is that when they ran up the score, they were on defense. So they started out so strong. Then Empire started finding those weak spots, started getting in. On attack, Furia struggled really hard with coordination. They did not look necessarily in sync with one another. The first bloods that were coming out favored Empire when they switched sides. And if you're Furia, this is not just something that gets fixed with a single timeout. This is something that has been a problem for you all day.
It is, but to be honest, Parker, if you are known to be an aggressive, frag-heavy team, as Furia has been known for and still is, and you're facing SSG playing puzzle games, putting up all these distractions, all these different elements, all this utility, the shields, the castle barricades, the wall deny, I wouldn't expect it any other way. It's almost like asking a plumber to do a math test. He can put the pipes together, Parker, but he does not necessarily have the formula on the table when he has to answer a mathematical question at hand. Unless, of course, he's a mathematical plumber, which could be the case. Plumbers don't need math a whole lot. I mean, it is some sort of math. But
Plumbers?
Yeah, plumbers.
I mean, if you're doing plumbing and you're fitting tubes, you're laying pipe.
I just want to make sure that
as long as you're laying pipe, you need to know math.
All right. Well, my kind of plumber that I use in my reference is not a mathematical kind of plumber. He is a physical kind of plumber, and I think Furia are physical too. They like getting their hands dirty and getting into those fist fights with SSG. But that is not the name of the game. We're playing Kafe. It is a strat-oriented map, and you need the mathematical equations, the flashbang utility, the grenade utility, and destroying those shields and positions that SSG are using so well.
Back to reading they go now, as we're 30 seconds into round number 4. All of that tied up with a bow very nicely by you, Pengu.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I thought it was exceptional. Everybody likes a good plumbing reference, but...
Yeah, I just want to make sure that as a foreigner that I get my facts straight, because there are some things where my brain is like, whoa, that works one way. I'm like, no, it doesn't work that way at all. So, dotting my I's and crossing my T's and asking you for advice at times is what I would like to be doing going forward.
Oh, Fantasy now droning out as it's back down to this reading site. I'd mentioned that before. Furia looking to take control of the top floor. There's already been one of those gas canisters expended now from Bosco. 2 remain. You're going to have to work on that coverage, son, because there's still a minute and a half left in this round.
Furia being faster so far, but Foles recognizes this, looks for an opportunity, but there's a player on this skylight that might catch him. The drone gets tossed, but does not see Foles just yet. Creeps back inside of stock, I believe. Knowing that the O is taking as well, come back on that shield he goes. A nice try from him, seeking that opportunity, but ultimately understands he can go back behind the cover.
Heise knows exactly where he is, by the way, as you can hear that G36C rattling off in the distance. Fultz shrugging off 30% of his HP in the process, while some of the wall that does give him coverage is now gone. So some protection removed, and they're going to try to burn these ADSs. In comes a grenade, and Fultz is gone. A beautiful toss by Fantasy to give Furia that opening pick. Already looking much more confident with the way that they are taking control of this top floor than in previous rounds.
Yeah, Parker, they solved the puzzle, and that was the one objective they had this round. Now they got a minute left, they got top floor control, they can start getting that vertical play in, and they are actually looking good for a plant. There are no toxic babes left on Bosco, and there is only a single C4. Skies has found one, then they traded back onto hot and cold, and now there are no C4s on the side of SSG.
It's just bad timing from hot and cold in that particular position. He loses some of the safety, the roof above him torn away. Bosco before had been a difference maker on White Stairs. There's still 3 players up on Space Station, though the advantage does go to Furia. That means the final 20 seconds here where things get really tense. Rampy is well off-site. Now returning to the A-bomb. He's going to be supporting Bosco. Still playing in the same position. Over towards Laundry. He gets Diffuser down. Skies gets the kill on Terrare. It wasn't anywhere near to Rampy. Bosco down. There's Skies again, putting up huge numbers. Diffuser needs to be retrieved. It has been. Lenda has it in hands. And Rampy's shooting through the wall. Can he hit him? Is he around the other side of the banister? We don't know. We can't tell. Diffuser down, though. 40 seconds remaining for Rampy. He'll now head back up top. No. Scratch that. He makes noise, giving the assumption that he will And around the corner, he'll try to inch. This is going to be a very, very tough shot. Giving his position away. Nice play by Rampy, expecting a rotate through the wall. Does he know that the sledge is there? He tags him. There should be some sounds on Talenda, but Rampy doesn't seem to know it just yet. This is where the gun will be aimed right directly at his head!
Rampy!
How do you walk away with that one? Rampy, what a performance! He had a great clutch to win the round against Furia. This one's not as flashy, but it gets the job done. 4-0 for Space Station.
I am going to sound like a broken record, but clutch was the word I used, and clutched is the thing that they showed. SSG, I wrote down in my notebook, find a way to win this round because they're sitting around on the side waiting for a better day. And they were just gonna clutch it up, Parker. They didn't want to go for the flank, didn't want to retake upstairs. They found a few kills, they traded back and forth, but Rampy showed up when he was needed the most. And you said boring match from Furia, Parker, but I would say this round was a bit different. This was not a boring one at all, and Furia, in fact, did not look boring. This wall bangle was so close.
So close. I want to see where those bullets were going, by the way. Maybe into a stun. I have no idea how they weren't able to connect, but that's one of those fires where, that's one of those shots where Rampy peeking it has a fraction of a second over his opponent, and I mean, it ends up working out. So Space Station obviously very happy with that rotation, but too close for comfort. So what do? They go downstairs, interestingly enough, to the kitchen.
And they're keeping up the same thing with the deny and the utility. Now with the Maestro, no longer the Goyo on the board. They also do go off the Wamai as they want to pick up the mute and stick with that as well. The Mossy comes out too, so maybe a bit of a roam game from SSG. I know that they love putting down their jammers and their pests around the library area, dining area. They have the dining hatch open, they can fall back to the side. SSG are always very good across multiple maps, extending out. On Oregon, they do like a big tower extension to waste time and waste drones. On Clubhouse, I mean, who doesn't know about the SSG roam, Parker? I mean, that's something that every team uses these days. And now again on Kafe, I believe they have a similar strat where they extend up above and they utilize the map, they waste the time, and there it is. Rotations across the board, jammers up on the drone holes and the walls, and it'll be very difficult for Furia to figure out exactly where the players of SSG will be roaming. Last time they played this map, by the way, they tried to look out for the roamers on the first floor, and those jammers did so much trouble that SSG wasted half the round just to drop down the hatch to the side, and Furia is still looking around figuring out where are these players hiding because you just can't find them.
No, and once again, Furia really struggling on this entry, as they did against Empire. So far, for today, Furia has not won a single round on attack.
It's a dire one.
Not one round! Not a
round.
Single damn round!
Zero, yeah?
0 rounds!
And what was the common factor? Once they start struggling, the Monty comes out. Would you look at that? It was not successful earlier today against Empire. Will it be here? I don't know, but Hot and Cold says no. Fantasy says yes. It's a 1-for-1 trade, which is not the end of the world. Monty still standing with full health this time around. I say that he gets chunked a bit, but I want to see what this Monty can do. Right now, he's just walking around.
Look at what operators are remaining. There are no breaches left. The only thing you have are the 2 breaching charges from Ash. That's it. Or 2 breaching rounds, if you want to call them specifically. What does a sledge do on a kitchen take? So I will take that trade if I'm Hot and Cold. I will take that trade any single day of the week because you have now just removed the single operator whose life can make you miserable on that bottom floor.
And it's a very good point, as well as they don't have a whole lot of hard breach. In fact, they don't have any. So they're in this position where they need to find a way into sight, but you don't have any favorable way, you don't have any vertical play. Miracle does not find the kill either, but him and Skies, they trade some rounds, and they almost both die in the process. I think Rare on the Monty will have to initiate a push, and he will have to set an example for his team leading the charge. But no, Fanny says I can do that too, takes Rampy out. And we're now put in a decent position for Fury. They still got time to work with.
Plenty of time for them to play off of, and as long as that Monty is upright, there is a threat looming for them. And they ping away at, hey, there's somebody right now inside of coat check. It's Fultz there. They're going to need to rely on those smokes to deal some damage to the Monty. Last canister goes out, 20 seconds remaining. Skies falls as well. Fultz picked off. Oh my god, it's a massacre. Furia doing excellent work, but Bosco is in a clutch position, and that is always a scary person to have in that spot. He's going to have to deal with a Monty. Oh, and he pulls out the sidearm shotgun, but it doesn't matter. Highs is there to finish him off. Finally, today, Furia wins their very first round on attack. They couldn't do it against Team Empire. They're going to do it against Space Station, and it looked decently convincing, I will say that much. They're going to need some more, though, if they want to try to hang in this matchup.
It looked convincing, but for all the wrong reasons. On paper, that was a lost round for Furia. They lost the vertical play, did not bring a Heart Breach, and Miracle was even so low on health, but what do you know? Fantasy just finding kills out of nowhere. Found 2, putting SSG in a poor position. Bosco left last man alive on site. SMG-11 doesn't do a whole lot of damage versus Monty. Sure, the shotgun did, but at that point it's just too late. The bomb got planted, it's 2 versus 1. You're stuck in the corner with half your body sticking out from the shield. And now Sky says, watch me 6-pick the Ella and let me have some fun. And he too is not a fan of the Scorpion because he has picked up the shotgun. This map is not coastline, which means I am not against it whatsoever. In fact, you can play inside of Cigar and do a lot of damage. You play on the staircases, you can swing aggressively, you have a lot of options, but as long as you play in a close quarter area, you can do an absurd amount of damage.
So, very final round here for Space Station.
On this side.
On this side, yes. I was almost getting there.
Just saying, I was worried that you thought the game was over soon. It's not.
It certainly is not, and this is Kafe, by the way. Kafe finds itself in a position where you often have teams running up the score on defense. Defender side. Oh my god!
Is that like every map ever almost?
Every map!
Attacking is hard, and it's even harder when the map doesn't favor you, but I will also say that attacking against SSG in particular is a difficult one, but when the side swap comes around, I want to see if SSG can break Furia apart.
I appreciate that Space Station went with all 4 of the bomb sites, though. They did not have to go back down to kitchen, or they did not have to go down to kitchen. They could have gone back to mining. They didn't. So their rotation has been roughly the same, but they'll go to cocktail this time instead. So what do you do when you're attacking that top floor? Well, for certain teams, you want to start on the bottom floor and clear up. The inverse of what happens when you're attacking on the basement.
Yeah, I think if you're Furia here, since you don't have the bulk, you don't really want to go below, so you gotta start working on the piano, trying to make a wordplay out of that yo-yo, and that's about as far as I can go. And with that said and done, they're gonna start working on the castle barricades, and Skies will start having a confrontation soon. But if Furia misplays their situation, it could get very deadly very quickly. It's all about the timing and utilization of your resources. Sky gets chunked down to a slither of health, runs away he goes, back to the white stairs and up onto site. And the only downside for Skies now is that his position has been compromised and left, and his weapon has not changed. He will have a hard time for the rest of this round, I imagine, but you do have a pistol with a little bit of a scope on it, so if you're one of those players, you can get a whole montage clip going with that pistol.
Yes, indeed. Halfway through round number 6 here now, Nick, and
I will say, looking decent for Furia, given that SSG extended so far out on the map. They took on a lot of resources from SSG, but they have a second line of defense, which is in that stock freezer area.
Absolutely. All this damage being done to SSG, obviously not ideal. Still one air job as well for Miracle, and you can put it wherever you see fit. Looking for a tight angle now on the Aruni. If Fultz peeks in that direction, good as dead. Miracle still seeking his very first kill. The only player in the lobby without one. Him and Lenda both combining for 1. That's not an ideal situation to find yourself in. More damage being chipped away at the HP of SSG, as now it's Fultz's turn to lose some. Oh, and lose even more, but he trades! All right, he takes down Rare. That might not actually be that bad. That's the Heart Breacher from Furia removed.
It is, and that was a one-tap trade by the sounds of it in my ears, and that is absolutely crazy. Hot and Cold playing the Vector so well time and time again. Miracle gets his first kill onto Skies.
Wow, and down goes Bosco, though, and all of a sudden, Furia have found their footing. Miracle traded out Hot and Cold, tossing out the C4, connects onto the down, leaving a 2v2 with Rampy trying to trace across this bar, but he's looking for someone who doesn't exist at the moment. They're in the back bar, and he needs to get there. It's Hot and Cold to do it. 3 kills to his name. He wants a 4th, but give it to Rampy just to seal the deal. Why don't you? Diffuser down, and there's still some pings coming in. The Sledge of Lendo will get it, and Rampy needs to worry about a shot from the back, but Hot and Cold simply needs to live in the first half in the books. 5-1 for Space Station.
I think you might have upset Harden when you spoke about him earlier, because he's been showing up really well ever since. So maybe you're the problem with North America. Maybe you should hype up the players more and speak of them like, oh, they're not showing up, blah, blah, blah. Because Darkseer won their match. earlier today. SSG, Hot and Cold in particular, he's showing up now. So if you can just find one player from each team and just talk them down, make them show up. That's on you.
I will say this. I don't think I'm to blame for North America.
I don't know. I mean, you have a lot to do with it. You cast their games, you talk to their players, you give them guidance, right? Because you give me guidance, and I thank you for that.
Why on earth when I give them guidance? I don't play this game at their level.
You don't play the game at their level, but you do have a great... You have a decent understanding. Okay, I'm not gonna, talk to your ego here. I'm gonna bring it down a little bit, take it down a notch.
Understanding, come on.
Hot and Cold is a statement, just like you might have one, and so we're not going to listen to it right now, but
decent knowledge.
Hot and Cold, decent knowledge. Hot and Cold has fantastic knowledge, fantastic game sense, beautiful hair, super nice guy, and a solid player in the NAL, and a great player in this match against Furia. The Execute Operator Dean coming out, and we're going to be keeping an eye on him because he wants to bring the terror above.
You didn't talk about his beard, though.
I haven't seen his beard.
Also, he owns a Tesla, so he owns a nice car as well, so there you go.
Sure, we can be biased towards Tesla cars. I don't mind. No, you have one yourself, so biased casters be biased. I cannot drive for one, so I have no bias now.
It's like they say, if you own a Tesla, how do you know if somebody owns a Tesla? Well, they'll tell you.
All right. We got Remy pick up a drone, almost left without it. You gotta make sure that when you put these drones outside in safety that they go into the backpack, because if you leave them outside, they're gonna get cold, the battery dies, and it will never get used. And that is not something you want to see. If you're liking, you're happy with this. There is nothing worse than seeing when you die 4 drones outside the building. You go, guys, where is our entry drones? And people are like, I think I parked it outside. You just go, why? Why did you do that? A kind reminder, the Lion gets brought out as well, so obviously SSG are playing heavily for the Execute. Got a bunch of flashbangs, but only 2 grenades.
Yeah, this lineup from Space Station is particularly nasty. You've got the Lion and the Ying working together, and Ying is something that has factored into Space Station strategies before. Obviously, you need to clear out all of those ADSs. Ramai is not banned, for the record. We've actually seen him a couple times, but not being played by Furia, so this might actually be to the detriment of Furia if they're just simply running operators that they want and not understanding what's coming their way.
I agree. It's when you play this like utility meta, like SSG just did on their defense, you need to commit everything into it because it all plays a part. Furia has done a mixture of things. They play the Maestro, which speaks to one playstyle, the Kaid to deny the walls, they play a shield, but only the ADSs, and it's like, what exactly kind of style are you aiming for? I like the Kaid, I like the shutdown of this wall. SSG has no proper way to deal with it, but they might not need to because they have an Execute lineup of their own. They will need to destroy those Maestro bubbles before they can push, but we did just see Fantasy with a C4 below. That could become lethal later on.
Bounce a grenade into the doorway. Linda takes a tiny bit of damage. Droned out, missing the drone. Next engage is lined up and ready for him. Shotgun in hand. They wanted him to get particularly brazen there. Down goes Bosco, by the way. Furia immune to this early push by Space Station. And Fultz just simply can't do enough. There you go, but he's also traded out. Skies is in. Oh my goodness, the round is over. All right, well, Furia takes the fire right to them on what should have been a quick execute on Cocktail for Space Station, but they're a little bit too self-assured.
I mean, a quick execute it was. I mean, once that Lion charged the what is it called? EE1D? Is that the yeah? Once the EE1D came out, it was a 5 to 10 second round, but it went in the wrong direction if you're on the team of the Lion because you were the team that fell. That's the top floor bomb site of the map, and as expected, we will see them go to reading straight after because it's a very similar playstyle. They can bring the same kind of vibes. However, you guys can see this right now, but Linda is currently hovering the Goyo and not the Kaid, so it might be maybe that utility meta that we wanted to see unless a 6-pick comes out.
No 6-pick, so you're right, there's your utility meta.
Yeah, no Wamai though, whereas like Fantasy's playing Vigil, so you have to be like, yo, what about the Wamai? But we know Fantasy, we know Furia, we like to call them the 4+1 strat where Fantasy can go crazy and do his own thing, and then Furia can spend the last 4 players building up this plan together. I will say Kafe is not typically one of those maps where you want to take that approach, but if it works for Furia, why not go for it? And right now, they are taking rounds and they are taking names, so let them do so. Not sure where these Goyo shields are going, but he's making his way around, and I believe that we might be seeing a Rehost coming out in a moment. There it is.
Curious as to what happened there that we need this, but something is going to get sorted out. I think Bosco is having an issue. I don't know if it has been conferred to the teams or not.
I'm gonna guess the admins think he's cheating because he's that good. So they say, hold it up, check his mouse, check his keyboard, scan his ears for any sort of transmissions that might be going through before we keep going. And we have just been confirmed it is actually a keyboard issue, so Hackerman might just be at play.
I don't think he's cheating.
It has to be said, it has to be asked. He is so good. The entire lineup, pretty much every single player at these two desks are oh so good.
I hope you understand there's going to be people who don't know that you're kidding.
Okay.
And are actually going to think...
For clarity, Bosco's not cheating, but he is very good. And when someone's very good, you call them a cheater for fun, not in serious.
You need to be very careful here. You're going to get another player banned.
Okay, we're not going to go down that road. We had a podcast where we clarified all those things. And I even put Shaiko in the #1 spot for the best player at this event. The one to look out for, as everybody knows, because he is the best player, arguably, at what he does.
While we're waiting to get back in the game, what is it like being Mr. ESL?
Owning ESL and now Face It is great. I wanted to be a caster. I said, guys, put me on. I'll just shut it all down. And that's why I'm here today. And you know what? I'm kind of liking it. So I might just tell ESL, bring me back next time, and then maybe like a once-a-year thing, like a Christmas get-together. I see you and the rest of the crew, and we'll sit together, talk about the game, have a great time, make some memories, take some photos, and when I go back home, we can all think back to the great times that we had.
Absolutely. And I taught you how to lay pipe earlier, so that was good. As you were talking about, what was the phrase you were using to describe?
The plumber?
No, before that. You were talking...
Before that?
I can't remember it, but somebody probably clipped it because, well, there's been a number of innuendos said on this broadcast. But let's not get too far into the nitty-gritty. It appears that we are ready to get back into the matchup. Reading and Fireplace have been selected as the bomb site to go to. You talked about how Lenda was hovering the Goyo. Well, because of the way that Rehost rules work, you gotta pick the same operators that you were on prior to going in.
Yep.
So everything is going to stay exactly the same. We didn't really get to go too far through the prep phase and then onward because of the fact that we had a rehost. So we'll see exactly what's going to happen here from the defenders and how they want to customize this. The Goyo lends me the idea that, well, they're going to be defending pretty heavily upstairs.
That's a good indication. You want to put those shields. Typically, when you play the Goyo, you put one shield inside of stock with the left hand wall reinforced, and the second shield typically goes in Pixel and Piano, and that kind of speaks to the same element of like the previous round from Furia, where you have the first line of defense, you already see the Pixel shield, you have the second line of defense inside of stock, where you see the Goyo right now, and then you have the third line of defense, which is Cocktail. And when all those things have been cleared out, then you can start making the vertical and make your way below. So, as you see, you have a number of things they gotta get rid of, and they've gone off the yin, they've gotten more explosives, and they've still got those 9 flashbangs, which I think is a great choice. And Mr. Goyo himself, Lenda, puts down the shield that I so wanted, so he gets a golden star in my book.
I can see the book, actually, in fact.
I'll give him a star right now.
Put the golden star in there, please. It's very important.
How do you... star... That's great. That's a great. It's like a C star more than an actual star. It's a bit scuffed.
We're teaching him how to use a tablet to record the rounds, and let me tell you right now.
Don't tell them. Don't tell them.
It looks like somebody put regular words in a microwave because they are melting on the tablet.
In my defense, my tablet is not like straight down, so I'm kind of right at an angle. And speaking of angles, the drone gets caught from the skyline from a highs, who is now sitting back behind all these shields that they got. The one thing to note is that SSG, they put all their eggs into one basket. They stacked up all the ADSs in one position, whereas Furia, they basically have one ADS for each shield. So they're all gonna fall relatively easy, but when you have 9 flashbangs like the side of SSG, it doesn't really matter.
It's one of the nicest skins in the game, by the way. That T1 skin on the K1A.
It's really nice.
I think it's absolutely gorgeous. Well, a body is dropped, and Fantasy just gets absolutely smoked by Hot and Cold. The stats might have reset, but Hot and Cold in particular has been having a pretty good game now after, yes, you said it. It was because I criticized him, and he was better after that.
Thank you for admitting your fault. There is no better thing as that. So we thank you, Hot and thanks you, and Furia, they don't thank you because, to be frank, they hate you for it. C4 comes out, hits the ground, Remy doesn't shoot it back, but now SSG has to tremble their way through Piano. They did clear the Pixel shield, so the first step has been taken care of. I believe we just saw Furia drop the hatches and cocktails, so the top floor is now in the territory of Space Station Gaming.
Ramby's got the shotgun and the skeleton key out. That thing might be used for utility work and for destroying soft walls, but also good enough to kill somebody in the pinch, and that's why he was sitting in that position. He is over by bathroom, expecting a close quarters contact, but if you're Bosco and you drone this out, you realize you just scared the Goyo off of that spot. Linda, cowering in fear, he is long gone. A nitro cell goes out, by the way, has not been pulled yet. Linda waiting. I don't know if they're going to get the call here or not. A Buck in a particular position where it might be an opportune time, but I fear that the moment might have passed for fans of Furia.
We're almost in the reversed roles when SSG was on the defense, where Furia has no good win condition, no C4s, no smoke canisters left, and SSG has all the tools to walk in and plant.
And there are all the flashbangs going, by the way. Finally, that C4 goes off. Bosco takes down Rare. A single round is needed for Space Station to sit on match point. Diffuser almost done. Skies very quickly to do it. Hot and Cold through the smoke, firing away, but Skies is in there as well. Another kill for Hot and Cold. And it's a flawless round if Lenda can't get a kill. He's very close to getting one. No, just kidding. But he does get one in the meantime. He loses a bunch of HP, but it's match point for Space Station. This rematch, the billing of an insane rematch. Not quite living up to it just yet. Space Station looking in fine form.
I mean, again, the name of the game is the problem solving, and SSD are solving problems and finding kills left and right almost for free in this game. I will say again, if we look at SSG's defensive setup, that is what you should look towards if you want to play the utility. I think Furia, a round, maybe 2 rounds ago, should have said, screw it. We're going for a full-out aggression. We're gonna do what we do best and run at these players, hold their early points, extend into Cigar, hold the red hatch drop, play inside Piano, and make it about the gunfights instead of making it about the utility play. It's not their strength. I respect them for trying, but speaking of aggression, Hot and Cold has now picked up the Amaru. With the Lion, that's a deadly combo. We saw it on Chalet earlier today when it was Team 1 utilizing it, but it didn't really... Actually, it was Sonic, so it was Sonic utilizing it, and they did not necessarily find success. But that does not mean that because one North American team sucks, the second one does as well. Although, Sonics did get a dub, so...
I wonder if this is going to be SSG going, we got him on the ropes, this is match point, let's just get in there, let's kill him, and let's get this thing over with. Let's get home. I mean, local time right now, it's 7:30 local time. You know,
dinner is up, you know.
Yeah, I mean, dinner's being served. You want to go? You want to go to Max Burgers, maybe get some food here, the local Swedish delicacy, you know.
Everyone talks about it all the time.
Have you had it yet?
I actually had it last night. I was in the WhatsApp group like, guys, I'm so hungry, what do I do? And everyone ignored me except for Blue. He offered me like a plastic card I could eat. I was like, that doesn't help me. So I went onto a food delivery app and I got my food delivered and I devoured it with great satisfaction because my stomach needed it. Just like Hot and Cold needs this rush. It finds the opening onto Lenda within 25 seconds on this final round. In the meantime, Bosco, I believe, is all the way back in spawn, droning for his team. He has not even moved a muscle.
Yeah, I think Skies also had the diffuser way, way back.
I think it is actually Skies in spawn, yeah.
That's a huge pick on Lenda, by the way. Lenda had been struggling to find the scoreboard before the Rehost came out, and the stats had not changed. And now Lenda, at this point, has 1 kill, which doubled his tally before the Rehost, if I remember correctly.
Stonks.
I mean, at this point, you're going to need a lot more stonks because, well, there's 2 minutes to go and Furia trail. You talk about win conditions a lot. This is a bomb site on the middle floor right now that they need to deal with. So we'll see if they're going to be able to open this up or not. Starting in Cocktail.
Yeah, remember last round they had the smoke and they had like 1 C4. It's a similar fashion, but there's no smoke and only 1 C4. So I would say Furia has to find some kills to make this round more fair in their balance because they should slowly get strangled out by SSG, and the same thing that we saw last round could very well happen this one.
This is a rare mining defense, by the way, as you talked about that before.
Yeah. But they can just walk it down, they can stop planting and mining, and if there's no smoke going out, C4 goes out and finds Skies, and that's gonna bring it back to a 4 versus 4. Heartbreacher off the board for SSG, meaning they have limited entry once they get down to the mining bomb site.
Oh, but Fantasy doesn't know what hit him, and neither does Miracle, as all of the players from Furia are finding themselves in the crosshairs of Space Station, leaving a 2v4 for Furia to find their way out of this one. But Space Station in the position that they're in right now, sitting on match point.
I would say that Space Station Gaming is in the driver's seat, launching their rocket up into the sky to rain terror from above upon Furia. But the next 45 seconds will tell us if that is the case, or if the rocket will fall down to the ground and explode itself.
Oh boy, that's a terrible image.
It's the best I could do.
Oh,
I can make it unicorns, rainbows,
that's
sunshine.
much better. You don't want this. The rocket will crash. No, Space
It's
Station.
so sad. Sub 30 seconds Rare on a mission. Wants to find the kill, does not get it. Dining Repel is being utilized by SSG. Diffuser goes down on the jump in, and now we're seeing Furia striking, but SSG is not done.
Rare in rare form. Diffuser ahead of him. Needs to be within reach of Space Station, and they're running out of time. 10 seconds left. Does it get retrieved? Yes, it does. Rare steps up. No way! He's out dueling all of these. Bosco will go onto the Diffuser, but he accidentally gets Rampy up instead and still has time to get it down. How is this happening? But Rare is there, and he knows that he has it. What a play by Rare to keep Furia in this. Goodness gracious, we go one more round.
You know, it looked really, really close, but I actually loved the fact that he went for the revive, making that a 2 versus 1. If you start planning in that scenario, Rare will come around while you're putting down that diffuser, and you cannot fight back. They made it work, but Rare made good work of what they were doing. Highs on site, managing to find the head of Volts before it got taken out was a defining factor in that moment, as it meant that Rare had one less person to deal with, which ultimately led to the victory. Volts typing nice shot, Maestro. High says thank you, as that was him on that Alda. Praise given where praise is deserved. Although I'll say, if we're talking a nice shot game, I feel like Furia should have given us some nice shots earlier as well, but it is what it is. NA being the nice guys, seeing as they're down and bleeding as a region, and I can nothing but respect. We're going back upstairs. The cocktail may be going for a drink, maybe not, but what we will be doing for a fact is we'll bring out the Goyo, the Romai, and the Jaeger. So it seems like Furia has figured out what they want to do now. Fantasy, we spoke about it earlier, he was on the vigil when he actually shouldn't have been. They recognize it, they fixed it, and now they're doing it right. This is great.
Well, we have a bit of a spoiler for you, so cover your ears if you don't want to hear
Is it a
this.
good one? Please be good.
All spoilers are good if you're excited to hear about new things.
Sure. Hit me.
Empire are currently beating Damwon-Kia 6-3 at the moment, or it could even be 6-2, but they are on match point as of what we have heard. If Empire wins, that really, really hurts Furia. And in fact, actually, incoming spoiler again. Empire just defeated Damwon-Kia, so that throws a major wrench in the gears of Furia and the likelihood of Furia getting out of the group. If they lose to SSG here, this still could be a very long match. There still could be 5 more rounds ahead of us at minimum.
This is crazy. This is like the group that keeps on giving.
If Furia loses this, the chances of them moving on are slim. They exist, but they are very slim. They'll have to go perfect tomorrow and also rely on the help of some of their group mates losing.
Do you have any idea what map they played? I'm curious now.
That's a great question.
Alright, you will look into that. In the meantime, I will say that Foles is creeping around with a drone in front of him. Coastline.
Yes.
Wow, okay. Damwon-Kia get taken out on Coastline. That is respectable by Empire. Maybe the Russian cyborgs are out at play nowadays. SSG doing a great job at one of the things we've been criticizing other teams for not being good at, the teamwork. They got multiple people in the same area for the roam clear, and they have drone coordination. Nade from Foles takes out Fantasy. That is a huge pick here on match point, and Rare finds himself stuck inside of Library with no way out. Has to claw it, fight it, and get some kills, otherwise he'll become the killed.
You're building up part of that wall, but Rampy is just so good right now, tearing through them all. 2 of the best players for Furia now dragged down out of action. Fantasy, in particular, has had a bit of a quieter day than I think we expected out of him.
It's been okay.
Okay, but the expectations for Fantasy are very, very high, and I think that is something that needs to be reminded, or people need to be reminded of. So, As we said, this bomb site is upstairs in Cocktail, and there's a ping for some damage to be done from Rampy, but he's not able to execute on it at all.
Actually full health somehow. I thought all of those hit, but they're just dancing around each other. And there's a swing from up above. Rampy gets taken out. Smoke comes
no!
out.
The disrespect! Disgusting!
He could have just shot him, but he gets a teabag practically in the name of a toxic babe.
I mean, I understand why he did that. I do wonder if it's a bit of a waste of utility, but it is a nice...
Gotta chalk them into
it's a nice cheeky bit of mental mind games, you know? Head mind games there, so...
Mind games? Furia's weakness earlier was the white stairs, and for a moment I thought Volt was going to make work of that, but instead he says, nah, I'll go up the red stairs instead and join my comrades up above. Drops up 30 seconds now as we see Hot and Cold wrapping the window.
Oh no, but Hot and Cold cannot outduel Miracle. Both Miracle and Highs have been exceptional for this team in lieu of everybody else unable to find their footing. Teams at a 3v3 right now, and Space Station cannot choke this one out, but they have 15 seconds left and they have limited information as to where Furia is.
Looking grim.
Right now inside a cigar shop, they'll push up. Highs with one on Nabosco, and now there's more as well in his line of sight. This round is effectively over as Furia have now found their footing and they're warming up. Twister keeping them in this one mentally. And over the last 4 rounds, Furia have taken 3. They are on pace right now to 5-1ing SSG the same way that SSG did.
I had like a theory earlier when you said the thing about Hodden and he showed up. I praised SSG for teamwork and coordination and playing together around. Rambi died solo bolo. Hot and Cold rappelled in on the new balcony solo bolo. There wasn't even an EE1D scan to help him out, so I praised SSG for doing the right thing. Then they do the wrong thing. You said Hodden wasn't as hot as he should be. And all of a sudden, he gets on fire and has been a top performer, I believe, for his team across the board. Remember, we did have a rehost earlier, so there are more kills on the board than what meets the eye. Space Station Gaming wants to close it out before the overtime. A timeout has been called from Lycan, and I think this is actually a wonderful situation because SSG were looking just fine before, but they want to make sure that the finish line gets met before OT begins.
SSG is 1 round away from putting themselves
so close.
in such good position to make it out of this group. This is a monumental task for them. We talked about how this might have been a snoozer of a match from Furia. They have now proved us wrong. They are doing so much better now that the sides have swapped. And well, I mean, can you blame them? Kafe does tend to have that distinction of being much more friendly to the defenders, and here is where we are with the defense doing so well. The attackers have only won 2 rounds of the 10 played up to this point. That's not exactly a high number, and it's in keeping with some of the very heavy defender-sided maps we do tend to see. Timeout is over, and I don't know what you want to do for SSG here. They got that 8th round. They looked comfortable, they looked confident, then they picked the Aruni play, and it seemed like they were okay, or Amaru play, and it looked like they were going to be a little bit better, and they were going to go in for the throat, that knockout punch, etc. Did not materialize. Furia have been able to rebuff SSG on most of their entries, and where SSG does tend to shine, that mid to final 30 seconds of a round has been very, very challenging for them at this point. And Furia have caught up. They are not tied just yet, but they are very close. I don't know what, if you're Lycan, you talk to the team about, because this first match between Furia and SSG was a hell of a comeback to push us to overtime, and now here we are, and we might be having that happen a second time.
I think that might also be why that technical timer was spoken of. It might even have been said, guys, don't worry, if we go the distance, we go the distance, but we want to make sure that if possible, we end it before that fact. SSG didn't change that much about the lineup. They are bringing the Nomad, which might help centralize the map a little bit, take care of the flanks, maybe box Fury in, stop them from peeking and pushing out. But outside of that, pretty standard stuff. 9 flashbangs, 4 grenades, a single double vertical plate operated, so in case the buck falls or the sledge falls, you always have the other. They got a lineup for consistency that works across every single bomb site. The one thing they cannot lose, however, is guys. The only hard breach on the lineup has to stay alive, has to be utilized if SSG wants to have a good shot at winning these rounds.
Plus the 30 seconds of this round now have gone by, all assembled or mostly assembled on the roof. Fultz is the only one who might not be particularly close to that, droning out to see if the top floor is secure at all. They're going to first and foremost see reinforcements, some of those laser gates, as Ace likes to say. And they'll need to push at some point to take care of those, because even though they didn't drone it effectively, they know that there's going to be somebody playing behind that.
Certainly, I mean, that's a given, and keep in mind, Lenda did 6-pick the Echo. SSG has been running very low on the clock in these last couple of rounds throughout their attacks, so the Echo might just play into that. As the time ticks down, we need to keep an eye on the Echo if he is, of course, still alive.
One of those win conditions you talked about, Nick?
Yeah.
How if you have the Echo in play, you are in such a strong spot. Well, it's going to be a reading defense. Oh no, did he not?
I mean, it could have been a choice if you're one of those kind of people, but typically when we see an iron sight at a LAN event, so at LAN you have your own SSD, you gotta set it up on every single operator's scope, and sometimes you forget an operator.
That seems like it's a bit of a mistake, so just keep your eye on it, and maybe if he plays Echo again, maybe out of scope to that. Who knows?
Thing is, it's not about the gun for Echo, it's about the gadget, and SSG have not been the quickest this time around. There's only a minute left and they've barely entered the first floor. I do think the Echo is gonna come into play.
Absolutely, especially if you don't have any way of knowing where those yokais are at. And with lots of teams, they will often put those Echo yokai drones way off site and make you have to essentially bring them back in at some point. But we'll see exactly where they are. Right now, SSG's focus is going to be on the wall leading into reading, and there's a bit of a struggle. That grenade actually misses its mark. That's not good. That means that those X-Kairos aren't going to be able to go in. Second grenade actually finds the target, and now safer passage. Some destruction work from above from the sledge. First kill, though, goes to Fantasy. He's starting to wake up. Bosco falters. Miracle traded off by Fultz. SSG now even footing with Furia, but High says no thank you. I want that back. Down goes Fultz. Rampy now outdueled as well. Furia just waiting so patiently. Hot and Cold trying to keep this one close. Sky's in hot pursuit. Can't find his targets. There's the yokai drone to disorient. None of them have access to that diffuser because they're both dead. Rare and High's cleaning up and 1 round away from overtime.
Now we can start feeling it. The pressure is getting onto us. SSG is slowing down, and Furia have started reading the game and the pace and the operators that they need to be playing a lot better. They started off sloppy, they started off disjointed, but now they've come together with a united plan on how to take down North America's best team once again.
Oh boy, that timeout for Space Station obviously not working the way that they want, but hey, I mean, Furia didn't start winning until after they'd taken their timeout, took them around to do it, and then the side swap really came in to help them. I imagine that there is some frustration here from Space Station, the frustration station, if you want to call it that. And Sky's trying to walk them through it, saying, what the hell are you guys doing? We are so close. The disappointment immeasurable on Lycan's face right now as he knows what's at stake here. The win from Team Empire throws this entire group into turmoil because it means that one of the teams at the bottom has now essentially vaulted towards the top. Empire is still in third, by the way. They still trail Space Station, but they are closer and a little bit too close for comfort, I would say.
Yeah, that's a good point. And honestly, SSG is like one of those teams where it's like they've gotten close many times in their career for greatness. And yes, they have lifted the hammer once in the previous roster version, but it would suck to see them fall a little bit short once again. This match is pretty important for them due to standings, and when you've been on match point for as long as they have, had a lead for as many rounds as they have, it sucks once the overtime starts creeping in.
Empire have actually jumped over top of Space Station with that victory by a single point. But SSG has also guaranteed themselves 1 point. So that's kind of the math that we have to go at right now. Ooh. Technically, because SSG are guaranteed to go to overtime, they are guaranteed 6 points, at which Empire also have. But we're not at that point yet. Space Station is still perfectly capable of winning this one outright. This is the round to do it. Worst case scenario for them is, of course, going to overtime and losing. You walk away with 1 point, and then Furia grabs 2 points to be within 2 of both you and Empire, creating that log jam at the bottom. Damwon Kia still at the top of the group.
Yep, what that would mean essentially is that Day 3 becomes extremely exciting for this group, but I think it will for the most part, as not very many teams are confirmed for playoffs. We saw it earlier, hot and cold had a crazy good wallbang onto Miracle without any information. Almost took him out. I say almost. It would have been a fantastic entry on this match point round, but SSG will have to live with what they got, which is just a chip off the health. Then they're playing the Echo again playing around this slower paced SSG.
What allows Fantasy and Rare to roam if they want. Miracle can also play off-site with those anchors governing everything. I think there was a grenade tossed on in by Fultz. I don't know if they're going to be lucky enough to get more of Fantasy this time. No. Might have been underthrown, but no, Fantasy decides to walk right into this and re-peek. I don't think he
That's basically so free for SSG, and on top of that, Miracle is so low on health as well. I'm not sure what Fantasy wanted. Perhaps he wanted to just be a hero.
And that's what I said. Fantasy, we have such high expectations for him. We expect him to be one of the best players in the server, and unfortunately, he has not quite lived up to that billing so far in this match.
Had he gotten that kill though, he becomes the hero. If he dies, he is the villain. I don't think it's even worth talking about heroes and villains in this case. Just be a citizen. Do your duty. Don't do too much. Don't try too hard. Just sit tight and wait. SSG are running low on time. You have the Echo. You do not have a C4, but perhaps you still have a Maestro Cam alive as well.
Well, down below now, Rare will retreat, as you talked about. Not a lot of time, Nick. Only 40 seconds remaining. Miracle very low. Unsure what he can really do, but he's going to look for the flank over on Brown Stairs. Skies is getting the diffuser down. How does nobody know that this is happening?
Does the Yokai see this though, Parker?
Do they have time to get to it? Yeah, I mean, that's in, but it's a little too late. So the information is there. But oh my, not where you want to find yourself. Furia will now scramble, but Rampy has the cross, and still from above, he's up there. The first kill from Furia comes out. It's Rare. They're going to need some more. Very limited HP. He and Miracle, both very low.
This is so hard for you to retake because the angle's up above. SSG playing a phenomenal post-man position. Lenda has found his way in the basement, has to work his way up the red stairs, but there's no time. There is a kill, but it will not be anything worthwhile as SSG is looking to take the match and take their revenge.
And they get it. 7-5, the scoreline for Space Station as they are triumphant. It was a scare. This group is a terrifying group. Damwon Kia, Team Empire, Space Station, and Furia. Any of these teams can not just make it out of the group, but all of them could conceivably win the major. Imagine having to fight for your life against all of them. Spirited effort from Furia. The one thing in this rematch, Space Station does it clean. They don't need overtime. They get all 3 points. Furia gets about as close as you can get without taking anything home. And because of that, Furia still sits in the basement of the group. A big 3 points for Space Station. We've got a match to break down, but we're going to toss to a break and then we'll come back and talk about what we just witnessed. What does it take to create the future of a gaming community? Join us on this 4th episode of I Call Next as we discover how to level up gameplay and reset the expectations of an entire league. PayPal, press play.
Easy going right there. One more to go.
Well, with a lot on the line, the Space Station and Furia rematch doesn't exactly live up to the full billing that we'd hoped, but it still came down to all 12 rounds to settle the contest. Space Station squeaking out a victory in the dying moments of that final 12th round in regulation.
Yep, you called the match boring, but exciting it got really quick.
I didn't say the match was boring. I said Furia was being boring because they were getting destroyed.
The match is boring. That's how
they were getting destroyed.
They were
5-1 for SSG. I said, Furia, you're boring.
That is true. You also said Hot and Cold was sleeping this game, but I believe he was close to 20 kills, might even have broken it.
I said that Hot and Cold was sleeping when he had 3 kills.
Yep, and then he woke up. My point is, things changed very quickly throughout the game, and we saw that. SSG started out really strong. They played that utility meta to great effect. When the side swap came around, Furia played this mixture of everything and nothing at the same time, but quickly realized that they need to unite on a united front and a single plan.
It ended up being a very defender-sided Kafe, and that's really what it boiled down to. Space Station took 2 rounds on attack, which is usually the most you're going to get if it's a defender-sided Kafe. Taking 2 of those rounds, good job, you did it. But because they rode up the score, drove up that score 5-1 on defense, that gave them that 1-round wiggle room. And we saw some really incredible plays from a variety of players. Everybody showed up for pretty much, I want to say both teams, but I really do, in the wrong way, have to single out Fantasy. So many engagements that Fantasy should have won. Was it the team not setting Fantasy up effectively? Was it Fantasy's own play? We don't really know the answers to that question. All we can do is speculate, but you, of course, being an expert, and as somebody who has played at this level, probably have better insight than just about most people.
So if we want to look about the star players, we would probably say Hot and Cold from SSG and probably Fantasy from Furia, at least in this game. Hot and Cold usually plays around his team, or at the very least gets activated by his team. Fantasy, very much the opposite, will seek out those solo bolos, as I call them, the solo kills across the map. When you get them, you're the hero, when you don't, you're the villain, and in that last round in particular, on the white stairs, swinging up into the gunfight against Foles, he loses it, it's not even close, and he puts his team in such a terrible position. It's unnecessary at best.
Sometimes you get cocky and you have those overextensions, and it really does end up biting you. But, I mean, I think this match, both teams are going to walk away decently unhappy. I don't think Space Station, like it in particular, is going to be overjoyed at this result. They're going to be stoked that they won, but there's a lot to learn. And, I mean, sometimes even when you win, you still reflect on it and say, we didn't deserve that win. Or you say, well, we could have won better, and we had rounds that we threw. We had opportunities that we really should have been able to close out. I mean, there were a couple opportunities from Furia as well, where they probably should have won it. That one round in the 2v1 against Rampy really does jump to mind when they were on attack and they allowed Rampy to retake. That probably could have been a Furia round and probably should have been. But unfortunately, both players played in the same spot. They didn't think Rampy was going to peak, and they ended up getting punished for it.
On the other side, we have the Rare round on the mining defense, where he got a 1 versus 3, I believe. We had the revive into the plant, but Rare finds both kills regardless. Timeout wasn't 0, so yes, there's going to be rounds for both teams where they coulda, woulda, shoulda won, but didn't. Ultimately, as you said, I think both teams are kind of sad about this game, but of course, if you come out the victor like SSG did, at least you'll be happier than if you were to lose.
Now, we were talking about how well Hot and Cold did. He ended up finishing and capping off that match 14-7.
I thought it was like 18.
I mean, it was still a great performance on his end, almost the same as High's. High's just a little bit behind him, but Fantasy's 8-10. Fantasy is a player who absolutely needs to do better than 8-10. That's just really what it boils down to, and I know it's not necessarily fair to single him out, but he is the hard carry on this team more often than not. His job is to get those kills, create space, do cleanup, basically do whatever they need. And today I don't think he was good enough in that role. And I mean, a lot of the team wasn't ultimately good enough. Furia could have very easily won this match, and maybe even should have won this match based on previous results, but today's been a bad day for them. They had that debilitating loss to Empire, and now here against Space Station.
Seeing as I thought Hot and Cold's about to break 20, does that mean that I'm bad at math and therefore a plumber? Does that? Have we gone full circle? Am I the plumber now?
That's genuinely how it works. Yes, I do think that is correct.
Well, I'm gonna lay down some pipes throughout this week, and we will figure out exactly where those pipes will go. But I think that's it for us for now, Parker.
We have the group standings.
Oh, we do.
We have the group standings to show.
Show it.
Almost done. Almost done. Here are the group standings. Sorry for spoilers. If you haven't been paying attention, Ninjas in Pajamas needs to play the Sonics later, and then BDS needs to play Invictus for those rematches. Damwon Kia and the rest of Group D are now funzo for the day, and you can look at those point standings.
Damn.
Furia still have 8 points on the table. Now, Space Station has the tiebreaker against them. Does Furia have the tiebreaker against Damwon Kia? I believe Furia has to play DWG for the second time tomorrow. Furia does not have the tiebreaker, as far as I'm aware, against Empire or Space Station. So now the odds of Furia making it, and we can wait on admin confirmation, the odds of Furia making it out of this group are terribly, terribly low. Not only do they need to win both of their matchups tomorrow, but they also have to rely on some of their opponents also stumbling. So the good news is they play both Empire and Damwon Kia tomorrow. So, I mean, it's entirely possible that they can walk away with 2 victories. They're as unlikely as it might seem right now, but the hopes of Furia advancing look pretty slim.
So I'm going to break that down in a very simple format. Tomorrow is going to be exciting. Tomorrow is going to be incredible because things will be decided on the battlefield tomorrow.
Yes.
Yes. That's the deal.
Yes. I'm excited for tomorrow. There's a lot of really pivotal matchups. We only have one team, as far as I'm aware, we only have one team at this moment confirmed for playoffs, and that's Rogue of all teams.
I think that's true.
Let's be honest. Sorry, Leon Gitz. I know I shouldn't be laughing, but I honestly didn't originally think that Rogue
I don't
was
think
gonna go
anyone
through.
did, but of course, the Argentine situation might have helped them. Anyway.
Rogue have been very impressive, and they absolutely earned that regard.
They
No
did.
shade thrown their way, by the way, Rogue. We do love you and your new logo. With that said, that's it for you and I today. We still have one more matchup. Here's BDS versus the Sonics to conclude our Group B, or rather our Stream B.
Yeah.
We'll be back in just a moment. We got a break first. We'll see you then.